Okay guys, so like the way we use our waveform software in order to generate the signal that we want to work with in our circuit is pretty easy. So we go to the main menu over here and we click on wave generator, and then from here you're gonna get um, a signal that pretty much changes over time. So you have different options here that you can change, and since we want to generate a 4 peak to peak 4-volt peak to peak signal, we need to change and play with these values over here. So what I'm gonna try to do right now is to so you can change the frequency of the signal and the period, and pretty much the only difference between them is that the frequency, as we saw in class, the frequency is the inverse of the period, right? So if I wanted to change the amplitude of the signal, I can do it over here in this panel, in this menu. So I'm gonna set up our offset value of 0 volts, and I want the amplitude to be 2 volts. So if you do that, you pretty much can see that our signal is going from 0, right, and to 2 volts over here. So that's pretty much the idea. This is the amplitude of the signal, which is different from the peak-to-peak voltage of the signal. The peak-to-peak voltage is 2 times the amplitude of the signal. So if we have 2 volts here as the amplitude, our peak-to-peak voltage must be 4 volts. Okay, so this is the way that we generate our 4-volt peak-to-peak signal, which is one we want to use for our lab, for this specific lab. And this is the way you need to set up all the values here, and this is the signal that you should be getting. So in order to see this to use this power supply in your circuit, you go here and you see that this yellow wire over here, W1, is the waveform generator channel 1. So we're pretty much using the channel 1 here. If you click on here, you can select channel 1, and that's the one that we're gonna use for this lab. So we are gonna need to use the yellow input over here for in our circuit, which is pretty much what I'm doing here. I have two male connectors, as you can see here. I'm gonna explain this one after, but right now just focus. You just need to focus and these two. So this is our EE2, and we're connected the yellow wire and any ground, the ground that is next to it. Okay, so after you do that, if you want to see if you want to see your signal in an oscilloscope, the oscilloscope is just a window that allows you to see your signal. Okay, so well, after going to the oscilloscope, you click on run all. Okay, so then it's like it's pretty much the same idea that we use for our DC power supply of 5 volts. You just run it, so you're able to get the signal over here. But if you want to see if you're actually getting the right results, you use your oscilloscope. So you go here to welcome, you click on scope, okay, and then if you run this, you should be able to see the signal that we have here. But in order to do that, you need to connect these 2 wires here, the orange ones, which represents the scope channel number 1, positive and negative, right here. So you connect them in this way. So just after doing that, you're gonna be able to see the signal in your oscilloscope. Okay, So if you see over here, we get a maximum value of 2 volts. So if you want to see these measurements over here, you just need to click on measurements, and then you click on add, define the measurement, and you click on channel 1 because we are working on channel 1. Click on vertical and you can see any of these values on your scope. Okay, so since we want to see the peak to peak value, we add this one, right? And then you're able to see the value over here. Okay, so we're actually getting 4 volts peak to peak, and this is our signal right here. If you notice, we're going from 0 to 5 volts, and so 4 volts peak to peak is from -2 to 2. Okay, so if you take into consideration 2 -2 volts and +2 volts, and you add them together, you're gonna get the 4 volts peak to peak. Okay, so that's pretty much all you need to do. The circuit is pretty simple. We are using 100 nanofarad capacitor over here in series with the 20k ohm resistor. And pretty much what you need to do here, guys, is to go to your wave generator and change the value of the frequency, right? And then pretty much what you need to do for your lab is to calculate the voltage across this capacitor and record those values for each one of the frequencies right here, and make do a graph of the voltage across the capacitor and the frequency that you're working with. Okay, so pretty much what you need to do is to measure in between this capacitor and get the values, get each specific value for each specific frequency right here.